All right. What is up, y'all? This is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and at a low price point and a 30-day free trial. Check us out, schedulefly.com. My personal cell phone number, which is my flip phone, is right there on the page, I think on 3 pages of our website. So give me a call, set up a free trial. If you're on pencil and paper or Excel, we'll make life a lot easier for you. If you're on one of these other softwares, it probably keeps going up in pricing because they're backed by venture capital or private equity. We hadn't raised our prices in 17 years and no plans to. Schedulefly.com. All right, now, this is take 2 with my friend Rick here. We recorded a whole episode and I had some terrible technical issues on my end, so we are going to try this again. Rick, thank you for being kind enough to give me a second chance here, my man.
All right, yeah, no problem. Happy to be back.
Introduce yourself real quick.
So my name is Rick Gruber. I am the CEO of Billy Brick's Restaurant Group in the Chicagoland area. We have 7 brick and mortar locations. We have 7 total mobile vehicles, including 1 ice cream truck, and we do franchise, but we haven't really gone down that road too much yet. But we're getting ourselves ready for that and ready for growth.
Ready for that and ready for growth. Family business. So you've been in this for a while. So, well, actually, man, do this. Tell me about your pizza, because I saw a video of your pizza on LinkedIn yesterday. It looked dang good. But tell me about your pizza and Chicago pizza, and just let's talk pizza a little bit.
Yeah, so we make a very, very traditional style of pizza, but we make it sort of our own way. So when I say that, we have the fundamentals of Neapolitan pizza, where we have a very simple and clean dough recipe with just water, flour, salt, and yeast. And we only use the world's best flour, Cinque Stagioni, that we import from Italy. So that, in that sense, it's traditional. The way we bake is not, and our ingredients are a little non-traditional in the sense that we use a shredded blend cheese instead of just a buffalo mozzarella or a fresh mozzarella. So, that's more of an American thing. Some of the toppings that we offer, you would never see on a traditional Italian pizza. So our 12-inch is maybe call it a Neapolitan, because we bake it a little bit longer, so it's crispier than that, like the floppy knife and fork Neapolitan. It's a lot crispier than that. Our 14-inch pizza is stretched very, very thin with almost no emphasis on that crust, and that's what you call like a Bari style pizza, which a lot of people are not familiar with. But there's a region in Bari, Italy, and if you look up that style of pizza, it's probably my favorite because it's the most like the pizza that I used to eat in college, which is our 16-inch style, which is our New Haven style pizza, which also comes from the Neapolitan tradition, but it's, again, less emphasis on the crust. It's a little doughier, and it's a longer bake time, so lower and slower, so you get that real crisp. The joke is always, is it burnt or is it New Haven? And, so that's our larger size pizza. So yeah, those are the 3 styles. And, I think it's a pretty unique offering in the variety that doesn't seem to, the nuance of the variety might be lost occasionally, but it's doing a lot without a lot of difference.
So, okay. What does Chicago style pizza mean?
Well, it depends on if you're asking people that are from Chicago or people that are not from Chicago. So people not from Chicago always think of deep dish pan pizza. And we joke now, like there's actually billboards that say that's tourist pizza. So that's a word really well known for outside of the city. But in Illinois and in Chicago, the true, to me, Chicago style pizza is the Chicago thin crust tavern pizza. That's that square cut, thin, crispy pizza that you've probably seen as well. That is, to me, that's what Chicagoans eat regularly. So, nobody's ordering that lives here a deep dish every Friday night. So even the places that are known for the deep dish pizza, like a Lou Malnati's, Giordano's, Rosati's, they all offer a tavern style as well. And if you had their numbers, I would bet that is 70% of their pizza sales at a minimum. Unless it's in a touristy area, then they probably sell more deep dish because it's such a novelty thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Tell me, we were actually, before we started recording, we were talking about everybody's favorite word, Yelp.
Oh, it's a 4-letter word.
So do people still even, I mean, it's an honest question. Like, do people actually still pay attention to Yelp reviews or Google reviews taken? Yeah, I don't pay attention to Yelp. It seems to me like it's just a bunch of negative stuff or whatever. It's like, if you're angry, go to Yelp. But I mean, Google reviews seems a little bit more genuine and authentic, but I don't know. What do you?
I would agree that is probably the case. I mean, I agree with that analysis. I also think the weight of Yelp has decreased significantly, which is terrific. If corporations can be people, then I hate Yelp.
There you go.
I hate the person that Yelp is. It's just the worst. And it's not about the feedback, because they're like Google, I feel, is very fair. The people who are going there and leaving reviews, the issue is that when you're doing the law of averages with these reviews, you're getting like 5s and then 1s. Like, it's the rare person that's going there and throwing a 3 at you. Right. So, that 1 brings down the average significantly. And it's really not a 1, because if you look at it, this is the problem. There should be, to me, a questionnaire and a thing, and then the system should provide the review score based on the answers to the questions. Yeah. Because, there'll be a couple questions in there. How was the service? Oh, it was okay. How was the atmosphere? Yeah, that was pretty good. How was the food? It was average, 1 star.
Right.
How's that 1 star? I'm reading that and going, that sounds like you're talking 3 stars. Yeah. So you're letting people leave a review that their own explanation doesn't even jive with the score. Like, that's just strange. So it's like everybody's playing by different numbers. You're allowing them to create their own scoring system. And I think the other thing is, if you don't provide any context, they shouldn't accept the review. So if somebody puts like a 1 star and they say nothing, I go, well, that's not helpful, because it's supposed to be, number 1, informing the public, and number 2, informing the restaurant of what they need to work on. That's not helping us. It's not helping us. It's not helping anybody else make a decision. Why did you leave that? And you reply to them. And if we reply to you and you never respond to us, that should also lower the weight of that, I believe, or have it removed. Because, again, if we're supposed to be in a feedback loop to improve, and I'm willing to reach out to you within hours to make it right, to find out what really went wrong, all that stuff, and you just don't even care to be a participant in that, then you should be deflated, like downgraded or removed, because is that even real? Are you even a customer? You know what I mean? It's just all those things where I go, if this is all going to be it can't just be one-sided. I think that is the worst part about Yelp, is that we will have customers that have been our customers for years. I will say, hey, have you ever left us a review? No. Can you please do that? Because I see you here 6 times a week, and I know you love us, and we only hear from angry people. Yeah, sure, no problem. So they'll create a Yelp page to be able to leave us a great review. And when they do that, a Yelp will put it in the, what is it called? The non-recommended. They flag it, non-recommended, because they'll say, well, we can't really tell this and that. But if somebody comes and leaves you a 1-star review, that's their only review they've ever done, they will absolutely keep it up there. There's never been a negative review that they've ever not recommended. So that's what I don't like about it. And then when you go to report it and say, we just had one the other day, and it was one of those ones that just drove me crazy, because it was not based on truth. We had someone claim that our sandwiches have gotten smaller over the years and they're not going to be a customer anymore. Just absolutely false. Our bread has never changed in 10 years. Like, I know 10 years before that, we had a different bread, but in the last 10 years, our bread hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And our portion sizes, the weights of our proteins, we've never adjusted in 20 years. And I wanted to be like, did you like to see our build charts for 20 years? I can show you evidence that we've never changed it. Like what hangs on the wall when they're building it. And by the way, that meat is pre-weighed and pre-portioned.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely no way that what you're claiming is true, because, it's not a, hey, you went skimpy on the toppings. And then I look at the thing and I'm like, oh yeah, you only put 12 pepperoni, you're supposed to put 16. Like, yeah, the guy on the line got quick or lazy and missed. No, it's pre-portioned chicken. The portion didn't get smaller. That's not true. So you reply and you said, you want to report it. You said, sorry, we don't get in factual disputes between restaurants and this thing. It's not a factual dispute. It's reality. Like, it's just not true. and people shouldn't be able to post things that are untrue.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking opinions, that's different, right? Like, I feel like I didn't get treated right. Well, okay, maybe that isn't the case. But if you still felt that way, that's your opinion. And anyone reading it can go, maybe this person was overly sensitive. Maybe they're right. Maybe these people, there's a pattern here, whatever. That is clearly opinion-based. But when you're making a factual statement that is inaccurate, I just don't think that that's fair. And if you can report that to Google, and they'll allow you to support it with something. And a lot of times then they'll remove that post, or they'll move it around or downgrade it or whatever. And they actually seem to have people who do that. So to me, that's important because it is valuable. So I guess it's all to say Yelp's influence is going down because their business practices are so terrible. Their salespeople are so obnoxious, and they don't care about the other part that they're serving. They forgot all about the other people that they want on their platform, the ones that actually pay to be there a lot of times, which is the restaurant. And then it's pay to play. And nobody likes that, where it's like, oh, you only play fair if we pay you? That's not.
Tell me about that. So what do you mean? They're salespeople. What are they selling? And what do you mean by pay to play?
All of a sudden, you'll have an account rep that will start helping you get things reviewed on your page and all this other stuff. And it's like, oh, so if I pay you now, you'll start removing some reviews that aren't good. Before that, like, you won't. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Down.
It is. It's 100%. Listen, I'm from Chicago, so I know a shakedown.
I was gonna say, man, you know what that is.
Something like that. Yeah. No, we're not playing this. I don't know who you're calling, but I would say the only remaining influence that Yelp has is because it's tied into Apple Maps. If it wasn't tied into Apple Maps, I would never think about it again in my life. And so you have Google Maps, which I think more people than not use Google Maps, even if people are using their API in their app. So the reviews that you see for businesses are connected to Google reviews. So I think that's why Google's prominence with the reviews has gone up so much, is because it's part of their maps. And it's open source, so everybody uses Google Maps in their API. Yeah. Whereas, Apple is closed, and what they use, they have a partnership with Yelp. So the reviews you see, if you use Apple Maps on your iPhone, the review next to your name, your stars, is connected to your Yelp review history. So other than that, I think it's completely meaningless. But that's the one thing. It's like, if you got someone from out of town, they're looking at their map, like, to eat, because people are using the native apps, not necessarily going to Google and then searching, like, or going to Safari and going restaurants near me. Like, some people do that, but like, I think people more often than not pull up their map. I pull up my map and I'll like just type in pizza and then see what comes up.
Gotcha. Okay. So then you get that one that's like factually incorrect. You obviously respond to it, but it's not, I mean, you say, look, this isn't true, that blah, 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 but fact is the damage is done, and you can't.
And your only hope is that you leave a gracious response that isn't necessarily for that person, because they're probably not going to be listening or ever reply, which is unfortunate. But you leave it because somebody that's normal, that's looking through stuff and sees that review pop up and sees the reply there, will read that and be like, oh, so like maybe that person was just nuts.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can hope for.
Okay. All right. Now, so I was, you got a nice article, and I can't remember the publication, but I saw it on LinkedIn this morning about y'all. Was it like Food Industry News? Is that a local Chicago publication, or is that a national publication?
That is a question that I should know the answer to. I don't know if it's outside of Chicago. It's very big here within the industry. I never really thought about whether or not people got it anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, all that matters really is Chicago for y'all, but is it, what was the article about?
So that one was a feature on our 20th anniversary, and it was just kind of recapping the last 20 years. So it's a nice write-up from, the most you can do in a half-page article from like this, where we started to where we are now. It was a really nice write-up. And there was a part in there as you got 3/4 of the way down, which I guess makes sense chronologically, about the like passing of the torch from Bill to me, and what has transpired in that time frame as well, and where we're trying to go.
Well, let's talk about that. That was kind of, that leads into, it's a family business. You've been around 20 years, so congratulations. Lots changed in the last 20 years. You've got an opportunity to, try to grow this business and that comes with great opportunities and a lot of challenges too. So talk a little bit about, how the business got started and how you got involved and where you all are right now.
Yeah, so the business started 20 years ago. I got a call when I was in college from my parents letting me know that they were going to start a restaurant. That's how it started. We were on a family vacation and we tried this style of pizza. And 20 years ago, this was a rarity in the country, especially in Illinois. There was no one like us. So the idea to bring this to us was pretty unique and had a lot of challenges because the industry wasn't where it is today that could support a lot of these functions. Now there's probably 20 different oven manufacturers that you can get anything you need, and all these different all this technology and all stuff surrounding it. None of that existed then. So, the biggest challenge first and foremost was getting an oven for this style of pizza because it just wasn't like it is today. So that kind of started things off, and we had a really small shop. It had like 10 seats in it. It was only 1,100 square feet. It was really small. The idea was to have a cafe atmosphere, which is really what I'm focusing on getting us back to, now, is that hometown feel where every location we want to have the behind the counter operate exactly the same way, but in front of the counter to have the feel of the location. Yes, it has our elements, and yes, it has our schemes and all that stuff, so you're in a Billy Bricks, but we want everything to kind of take on the character of the community that it's in, because that was the idea, that we were like going to be the local cafe, but we were a pizza cafe. You were going to come in and have that feel, because that's the best way our product is served as well. And COVID really threw a wrench in a lot of things because it changed the model completely. Now, some of it for the better for us financially, because our sales increased by so much because people started finding us through carry out more, takeout, catering, delivery, which we didn't up until 2016, 2017-ish. We never even did delivery. So as a pizza place, that's pretty different, right? So like our numbers and what we need to be able to put out of our kitchens really increased. So, a lot of things changed. And if I actually sit down and think about how much has changed over the years, it's pretty staggering, but it's like incremental. So you don't notice, but you really look back, you're like, man, how far we've evolved, to keep going and keep growing and all that. So it's been a lot of fun. When I came home, between my junior and senior year of college, it was open, and so that was only open a few months. And then I started working there in the summer, and I was the original sandwich guy. So I was the first sandwich guy, and I did that. And then when I graduated, so every break I came home and I would work shifts just to make some money and whatever. I didn't think anything else of it then. I had my own plans and all that. It was just to help out and make a little money while I was home. And I did that again. And then I had a gap here in between undergrad and law school to just kind of recharge, then take the LSAT, take my time with it, and then go to law school. It was a long 4 years of college. I did several degrees at once. So it took a pretty heavy course load, plus being a Division I athlete and coming off a bunch of different physical injuries from playing sports and my career not really ending the way that I wanted it to, baseball-wise. I needed the year to kind of just reset and be ready to go to law school, like fully energized and just take a break. When you're going through a prep school, then college, and doing all that, it just was a lot. So I felt like I needed that reset, and it was great. It was a great year to decide where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. And then I spent that whole year working in the restaurant. And I did the same thing during law school. That was like the gig that I would have just to make some money and give me something else to do other than just stare at a computer or books or be in class all day. So, I did that through law school, and then went off and kind of did my own thing and started my own business. I worked a little bit and then started my own law practice with some partners, as well as another entity that we created called Brandless, and had those things going. And so it was a lot of fun, but there was a point where the work that I was doing for this business, as it was starting to scale for my family, I was like, well, I do this and help all my clients work through these challenges and grow. Why don't I just do that? Is there a way to do that full time for my family's business and to help it grow? And then also have some sort of transition plan for the future in place, because, people get older. Yeah. And we knew that was going to come at some point. And that point for us was like 7.5, 8 years of me being in full time. which it's crazy how time flies.
Where did you play baseball in college?
I did. I played at Fairfield University in Connecticut.
What position did you play?
I was a pitcher.
Really? So did you grow up a Cubs fan? Or White Sox? I don't know. Okay. Well, at least you got to, get the monkey off your back. You guys finally won. I love Wrigley Field. I love baseball. Wrigley Field's one of the most special places on earth, as far as I'm concerned.
You have to schedule a visit here because we have Billy Brick seats in the Barrel Room Club. So
no way.
Yeah, so we got 4 tickets. So when you're in town, you have to let me know, and we can sit in the Billy Brick seats.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's no other way to see a game than one row from first base, and all you can eat, all you can drink for the whole day. It's the best. Yeah, it's the only way to fly. It's and my dad and I, Bill, we were at the game together where they clinched and beat the Dodgers to go to the World Series.
Yeah,
which was fantastic. And then I was at 2 of the games for the World Series. One with the blowout where we lost, and it went down, and it was not looking good. But I also was at a winner in Cleveland. So yeah, being able to see the Cubs win, being able to be at the NLCS and watch them clinch to go to the World Series, the breath. It's kind of amazing. Like, it seems trivial in the sense because it's like it's just a game and it's baseball, and you don't live your life worrying about this stuff as a fan. I don't my day-to-day is not involved or wrapped up in that. But at the same time, being there and being a fan of the Cubs my whole life, you really, when they do like the video montages of the past, you feel the weight of the history in the sense that of the generations of people who came before, who sat in those very seats and wanted that same thing and never got to experience it. So you try to have some, just some gratitude or to take in that moment of, this is a profound thing in the sense of, like, my grandfather was a fan for his entire life, for 74 years that he was on earth, and never got to see that thing and always wanted it. And I got to see it, and be there with my dad. So that was like really cool in that sense. So like we finally did it, and you felt like we all did it.
I'm a Dodgers fan, so I wasn't as big of a fan as that NLCS outcome, but I was cheering hard for y'all once y'all did. So that's pretty cool, man. So are you a lefty?
I am not. I'm right-handed. I'm just a big old righty. But
all right.
But my son appears to be doing everything with his left hand. So I bought him his first glove. He's going to be starting his little T-ball. He's 3. Yeah, nice. I bought him his first glove, and it is a left-handed glove. So I'm hoping to, even if he's on the fence about which hand he's going to be using, I'm going to try to steer him in that direction. So at least one of my kids will probably not have to pay to go to college.
Tie it behind his back. Well, so what is it? I wonder that, means as an athlete, you've obviously got, you got a competitive drive. You've learned to work in a team environment, in baseball. And I wonder if, how that has translated over to business in terms of, as an athlete, you want to win. And it's a little bit, you win or you lose or whatever. It's like there's a defined outcome. In business, it's you can win every day, I guess, but at the end of the day, there is no real winning or losing. It's just like we just have to get up every day, and particularly in hospitality, and just get this right. You can do so much as the owner of the business, but what you need is certainly a great team of people who are there every day trying to help make this happen. It's such a challenging business. I always go to the people part because yes, you got to get the food right. You got to get so many things right every day. But dude, trying to get people on board to buy into what you're trying to accomplish, to believe in the same things you believe in, and to carry that torch across, a growing number of locations. That seems to me like it would be not the hardest part, but the thing that I would think about the most, that would keep me up at night, because this is your thing. This is your family's thing. Like, you got 20 years in this, and so it matters. It's your baby. Tell me about finding people that, will embrace the same love and care for this business, and most importantly, really for your customers and your guests. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that, there's a lot to unpack there. I think number one, there has to be trust between the team and in the leadership. So you have to build trust. And a lot of times that takes a significant amount of time, because I feel like there's some people on my team that if I was like, hey, I'm going to close Billy Bricks tomorrow, but I'm starting, Rick's Excellent Taco Shed, they would all be like, all right, let's do it. So their loyalty or their belief isn't something bigger than just Billy Bricks. It's like they believe in the core philosophy, like you just said, of why we're really in this business. Yeah. And it's for legacy, and that's built on how you make people feel and how you treat your customers. And it doesn't really matter what product what food you're selling. That's really the core of hospitality. So I have people like that are lifers in this business that love hospitality, and then also just we enjoy working together. So there's a trust with me. There's a fun factor of no matter what. If we were selling sushi, they would do it with me. If we were selling sushi in the middle of a desert on the side of the road, they'd be like, I trust him because he's crazy and he knows he'll find a way for us to make money and like give us our marching orders, and we're going to make this happen, and we're going to have a fun time doing it. Like, so there's that part of it where it's no matter what we want to do, we'll do that. There's other people who, really like making this type of food and like being a part of this particular brand. But I find it's usually bigger than that. It's what the brand stands for, and it's how you make people feel, both the people that are working for you, with you, and the people who are coming in. So I think it's less about Billy Bricks, and it's more about building that environment where if it wasn't Billy Bricks and we called it something else tomorrow, the same team and the same people would still show up. And so I think that's the part of it. I think the part about the sports thing, it's really hard when you live and die that way with winning and losing, because the emotional toll that and I'm very guilty of this because that is my default setting, is if you have losses, they devastate you sometimes. Like, not forever, but they can really, really put you in a place that you can't be if you want to keep being consistent, And so it's learning how to deal with those losses while being a hyper competitive person, because I do believe the hyper competitiveness helps drive you. It drives you forward. It keeps you going. I always joke, we laughed. I think we talked about both liking Loveline or Dr. Drew and Adam, and they had the game Germany or Florida. Well, they also had, Adam will always joke that having a healthy amount of insecurity is a very good thing. Because if you're just like the most secure, comfortable person, your drive just isn't there, because there's really nothing that's like motivate. There's no chip on your shoulder. There's nothing driving you to like prove someone wrong, even if that's yourself. Like, you don't even know what it is. You have to have a little bit of that. And I think that comes with the athlete's mentality that's really driven. My athletic career was one that was not easy. I tell like my nephews, I tell young people, like when I've coached and mentored them, I'm like, I'm the kid who in the second grade in Little League had a 0 batting average for the season.
Yeah. Right.
Seriously, I think I was like happy one day when I just made contact.
Yeah.
And that's how bad it was. So to have a season like that, and then to come back the next year and be on the all-star team, and then being selected to join a travel team, and being playing up and being one of the best players in that league, you can imagine what I did between those 2 seasons. Yeah. And that's a different type of person. That complete and utter failure did not deter me. It literally lit a fire that didn't stop for the next 15 years. Because from that point of the humiliation of that, and then a coach after that saying, you're doing better, but you're not good enough to pitch, made me want to be an absolute monster, So
do you have that now with the business? Is there that? Because I can tell you right now on the physical part that I have that fire. So it burns to this day. I'm 50 and I still am like obsessed with that. I have it in business. Do you have that? Do you have something that's like the fuel to that fire that really, really drives you?
Yeah, I'll keep that to myself, but I will.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's for me. There's any time. So it's again, this is not to compare myself to these individuals, but I'll compare it to the thinking. when you watch these documentaries with Michael and Brady and all the greats, people who are truly great at what they did, they all were those people that had that switch and would almost find enemies to just get themselves fired up, something that would piss them off, to focus them, to really drive them. Because also having a common enemy is a great, even though it's petty sometimes, it is a great tool to bond a team. Because now you're going, can you believe what they think that they're going to do over there? Well, we're going to show them. And now instead of having someone, because there's always that where they're either going to be picking someone on your team or in your company that's the enemy at that time, because someone's always like, there's always going to be a problem. It's better to focus externally and make it about somebody else. The danger with that is, number one, you never want to pick a fight that, as a lawyer, you don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to. So if I'm picking a fight with someone, I already know that we can win it. And also know, and I've warned people that I will do it. I'm a happy warrior. I will do it with a smile on my face and just know it doesn't keep me up at night. It's not bothering me to go at you, like to be chirping at each other, to go at other pizzerias and talk smack. Like, I'm enjoying that. So if you don't enjoy it, you better just leave me alone, because I'm a counterpuncher. I don't pick fights. But if someone says something or I don't like something, you better believe that for the next month, that's probably got me all sorts of fired up to do something, and I use that as the daily thing to keep the fire going. For instance, we had a partnership that kind of blew up with our ice cream, and it made us go our own way and create our own brand and launch that. And so that blowing up of that partnership made everyone on our team go, we want more shops and I want to sell more ice cream than they ever can dream of, to prove them that we're not idiots and we know how to sell ice cream. You know what I mean? And it was like, let's do it. And yeah, it's something personal, but like it becomes that way internally. And I remember I read a book between my sophomore and junior year of college. It was called The Tao of Sports. And it was a very Eastern approach to this. And it was like, you can't be a winner and you can't compete if there's nobody to compete against. Yeah. So if there is nothing, like if you have to respect and appreciate that there's a team on the other side of the field, because if they don't show up, you can't win anything. And so, it's that the respect of the, sort of getting to the mat and going like this to each other, like, dabbing it up and being like, good on you to keep me going. And let's keep each other honest by being competitors and pushing each other to be better. So I appreciate that, which is why I don't take any of it really that personally, but also know for anybody, like, that's who you're dealing with, is someone who thinks that way, which is, if I see you copy something that we're doing, like, game on, and I'm ready to now come up with something 10 times better than that was and keep going. So I use that for me. And so I think that all those things, and I love former athletes or people who still like to be current athletes. I also know that, once again, I am better today at that part of it, only because I used to be so bad at it, and this is a case like on LinkedIn, any of my old college teammates or teammates see this, they love me. Like, I'm a good dude, feel a lot of fun, but as a teammate, I probably sucked. I was probably an asshole, if I'm being totally honest, because I had such a big chip and because I was going too far with that sometimes, of really trying to prove myself and trying to be the best. I was very self-centered in that aspect of it and didn't really appreciate what was needed out of the whole team and how to be a leader. And many of my coaches realized that people would gravitate towards me and follow me, whether I liked it or not. And so they would look to me to be a leader, and I never wanted it. Yeah. I was like, I'm doing my thing. And when you watch sports today and you see the guy who's like that, you're like, man, what a pain in the ass this guy must be. And so I've learned from a lot of those mistakes where I know that I could have been so much better in that aspect, and that part of it would have taken my career further and exceeded my talent even if I could have produced and been doing that. And I think that's where it is today, where it's like, I can't do everything on my own, and certainly not this. And there is going to be time, physical, all these other sort of limitations that catch up with everybody. And if you want to keep growing truly, it has to be where I'm taking myself out of thinking, I'm going to be the star player, which I was for Bill, and I have to start becoming the coach.
Yeah, you need to groom your star players. That's right.
I have to be the coach now. So my mentality is to get them all into the mentality, picking the right people, training them, and getting everybody who has those talents at that time to utilize them the best. And then playing GM a little bit, I guess, right? It was like, we're really missing this guy. We got to pick this type of player up, like the Bears just did. Go the Bears! Got a whole offensive line. I have to say that we're very excited for the first time. They paid for a whole offensive line, so it's like that's the need. So we go out and get it, and because we fill in the gaps of the team, and you get everybody on the same page of what we're here for, what we're trying to do. And every great team has always had that, right? It's like, this is the Patriots way. This is the Dodger way. This is the Yankees. Yep. There's a culture and there's a way. And I think that's what then you try to build amongst that team. And then also the hardest part is even the greatest teams don't always last forever. So is being able to make those change when things no longer fit.
Yep.
And that's the hard part.
So let's talk about like where you are today and where you're going and where you plan to be, what that roadmap looks like. You said 7 locations today?
Yeah, 7 brick and mortar.
Are they all company owned?
Yes.
Okay, but you were looking to grow through franchising, or?
Yeah, we did, and then we kind of scaled it back. There was some early failure on that part, like enough blame could go around in all directions, but to say, hey, I'm the guy, so it's on me. And there was a lot that we learned about if we were going to make that happen, what we need to do. And I felt that the best way to be able to do well with franchisees in the future is making our own company as strong as possible.
Yeah.
And our own units, our own brand. So that way we carry more weight for them when we do that. So that way they don't struggle out of the gate, because that's the hardest thing to counterbalance is if they struggle out of the gate, then everybody starts looking around of who to blame. And of course that becomes us. And then compliance becomes more and more difficult. If you open up out of the gate and they're doing well, it's going to be pretty easy, right? Like they go, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We got the system. We opened up. We're already kind of breaking even, or we're making some money. This is going to keep growing. They're helping us with these things. Their brand, the marketing is helping, blah, blah, blah. I think you're going to get a lot less resistance and a lot less of, hey, I was thinking and wanting to reinvent the wheel when things are going well. Because that's, I think, when things aren't going well is when everyone starts getting really creative. And then that's where you have a lot of the back and forth and disagreements and issues that can arise. So I think making ourselves as strong as possible, so that way these people can launch their own business and our family business and succeed right away. But, this business succeed right away, like it's not a guarantee anyways. But for us, knowing the model that we should take, the types of locations, learning from all of our own data and how we build to get certain sales to profitability, ROI, timelines, and all that, we're getting there. We just opened up a new location last year. And like February was just a terrible month. We're down with one less date. There's an extra payroll in January. I mean, there was a lot of challenges. The weather was terrible. And I looked and I'm like, man, the sales here were really, really shitty. And the store still made money, like a little bit. But I'm like, man, if it could do that in like the worst month that I will imagine for the whole year, then we really did a good job analyzing the potential value of this location based on our criteria. Because that means with the fixed costs here, our model works from year one. Right. And that's what was like, it took me analyzing 20 years of successes and failures to figure out why certain locations did so much better than others. And that to me is then something when you take that advice to people and they say, oh, I'd like to open a franchise, but I want to do it here. I'd be like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Not unless you want and understand that this is your timeline. This is what that looks like. This is what we look for. So then we help do that. So we're getting closer and closer to that. And as far as expansion for me, our company personally, it's not a vanity metric as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't want to have more locations just to say I have them. What I'm looking at strategically and through a cash flow analysis and ROI and EBITDA and all that stuff that I hate dealing with, but I'm trying to wrap my arms around more is what is the best number for us in like phases to make ourselves the most efficient. So that efficient, because every expansion, which cat's out of the bag, we're already in all these places. There is no option to be little again. If we did, of course, we could shut down half of the stuff and go to our core and just the mobile and make great money. But I would have to be doing like literally everything. There could be no team supported by that operations,
right?
Without a significant reduction in lifestyle and income and all that. And it's like, no, we don't want to go backwards. We're trying to create more value here. So as you do that, you think of like, how can I build these regions, which I call pods? How many stores does a region need, like in this pod? And how many mobile units for a pod? What's the investment to get the pod going? And when you do that, like then you can support this level of infrastructure, which makes you better but more efficient. So the per unit cost of management is lower, and you actually have rock stars running instead of like just getting by with whoever can be the manager. So trying to figure that out. So it's like, how do we go from where we are at our net profit yearly after management to get that up to 10%? We were at like 5.6, which is like industry average, but not great. And it's a great business, but for a family business. Then we get it up to 7.8 now. So we were able to do that in about 16 months. 2% on like 8 million in sales is a lot.
Yeah.
And then how do we get that last percentage? And I think a lot of that is efficiency and training. And that may mean, hey, I need to open up another location or build another mobile unit to support this store. So it's somewhat counterintuitive where you say, well, I have a store that's a little underperforming. What do I do to make it better? And one of the answers could be I open up another store. Like, that sounds crazy, right? But maybe it's not. Because now instead of a $50,000 a year manager that is like a C player, I can get a $85,000, $90,000 a year person with a lot of chops that knows what they're doing, and cut that 35, 45, thousand per unit and have them overseeing 2 to 3 locations. And then you divide that by 3, depending on what that person's real capabilities and bandwidth are, and say, you're going to have shift leaders and like basically AM, GM, and trainings, type people with a lower pay scale. And instead of having that higher paid GM who's only focused on the one place and then kind of getting burnt out being there, you got this person that's traveling between 2 to 3 or 2 in a mobile. And you go, that person now is going to be super happy because they're going to be able to make more money than they dreamed. And that's great for us. And we're going to be more efficient. And that could mean the difference in 1% just with that. Right. And then if they're better and more efficient, their stores are going to be more profitable. And by being more profitable there, that's going to get us that last 2%. And where you have a plan over the next 2 to 5 years with a structured growth, no debt, using cash flow to grow and using efficiency. And then the growth that will come from that team being built to get to 15% net after management expenses. Like, that's the real goal. Because when you have that, you have a solid financial business to then go out and either take on capital, sell. It just, to me, the way to go is to always have a business that's ready to be sold for top dollar. Not because that's what you want to do, but because if it's in that place, that means you are structurally so sound that people want you. That means it's going to be the most productive it can be for you. Right. Cash wise, and the strongest it can be. And it also gives you options to raise, options to grow, options to sell. You never know what things are going to throw at you. Health problems, family thing, and you go, if you don't have that option on the table, you could really leave for us, a family business, your whole family very vulnerable. So my goal is get it to be that, not because that's what we want to do, but because that's a target to make it the most sound and efficient and hit that net. And then we're going to have the most money that we could to play with for the growth and what we want to do with it, so that's kind of the goal. And so we have it phased out, and I have a plan, so it's one of those things, right? You have the best laid plans, or you have a plan, and then as soon as you hit the ground by the end of it, you're going to be like, well, that was a little different than we thought. But that's the flexibility part of it too, is just rolling with those changes, but keeping an eye on the big picture.
Philosophy locked in, optionality is huge. You want that. And you're right, best laid plans of a given day. Who knows? Especially in the restaurant business. My God, there's all kinds of things can happen on any given day. I want to wrap this up, but I do want to mention, I want to just talk a little bit about PR, because we got to know each other through Rebecca at Betty Baum, who's your PR agent, who has sent, you're now the third just awesome guest she has sent to us. So how did that relationship build, and how has PR had an impact on y'all's business?
So we connected with them based on a recommendation. And I think that's always like one of the strongest forms of is a referral, right? Because It's not a referral like from you to who doesn't have anything to do with them. It's a contemporary of mine who's a very good friend for many years, who is spending his own money out of his business in the same position I am, which is not cheap, especially when we're looking at every penny that we spend, right? And so there has to be a benefit to it where it's like, what is the return on this investment going to be if you're not just in it for ego? Because you're certainly get attention, but it's like, does that turn into something? And he absolutely swore by them up and down about just the results, not only the results, but the easiness of working with them, professionalism, and all those things that are really, really important where you're never chasing them down. They're reminding you. So it's like his biggest recommendation to me was, it's like, hey, if you are going to work with them, though, before you start spending money, make sure you're ready.
Yeah, right.
And that was a big thing, was like, yeah, we got to make sure we have our stuff together. And so it was kind of nice because they had an existing contract they had to get through before we could work because of a conflict. And so they gave me a lot of homework. Like, hey, once we start, this is all the stuff that's going to need to be ready to go. So it gave me several months to get everything kind of in place to be ready for the volume of what they were going to be throwing at me. And then also, again, there is no silver bullet. So if you think you're just going to hire a social media person or you're just going to hire a PR agency and then all your problems are going to magically disappear and your sales are going to go through the roof, they're still trying to sell something for you. Like, they're pitching other people, which is they number one have to pitch you, and they have to pitch a story or a product or a brand. So, I think they have been very good about picking really good people to work with. Whatever. Like my buddy and I, like you said, you've had 3 other people on and we've all been great guests. Like, Joe is an absolute character. And he's passionate about his brand and he has a great brand. So it makes it easy. It makes it easy to pitch that when you have people who could be like, oh, wow, that was really your first time on TV? And I'm like, yeah, basically. And they're like, oh, you seem so natural. Well, yeah. I was very nervous, really. But, it's just life. It's not that serious. It was fun. I guess maybe that's an athlete thing, right? Like, I've had to perform in front of thousands of people before. So doing that, I'm like, yeah, you have those pregame jitters, but once you hit the field, like, that's it. That's done. You just lock in and you do your thing. And so I think there's that. And they've just been really great. So we just got started. We're only the first month was putting a lot of stuff together and we have our weekly meetings and they really are starting to get to know me, get to know our brand, what we have cooking. And I think that's the best thing is just get me talking, get me rolling. They're learning stuff all the time and it's sparking ideas of what they could pitch, what's interesting about me, about the brand and whatever. So it's really been great. And it's nice to have that little break in the action, to have an outside perspective on what they see and are seeing from us. And it's also keeping us on task because it's like, man, well, we shouldn't just have these guys doing all this work for us and then we're not doing anything. We're not giving them anything. So it's keeping us focused on those things because they're giving us a list of homework of, hey, we could use this stuff. Hey, this was really great. People really loved it. Why don't you do more of that? And it's like, yeah, you don't kind of be lazy and not do we really have to do 5 more pizza classes? I think you should. That's a good story. And it's like, okay, fine. We'll get them going. And so in that sense, it's been great. Again, it's not a magic bullet, but I think if you're looking at it from a long-term perspective, that's where the real value is. If you go on TV and say, we are giving away pizza, you're of course going to get a burst of people that come in because everyone likes something free and something crazy like that, but that's not sustainable. Yeah. I think it's a part of a longer plan of getting into the consciousness of people, building the brand awareness, building knowledge of who you are. And, I just randomly now see people will shoot me a message or be like, hey, you know what? I saw that video of you on that, or I saw that article. That was great. And you're just kind of reintroducing yourself to people and making it exciting for them to know you, to share it, and to help you with the sort of organic reach. Because I got a lot of friends that's like, oh, I didn't realize you had that much going on. This is really awesome. And are now sharing articles for me and doing stuff that aren't involved in the business at all, but just as spectators. And are like, that's so cool. And they're kind of rooting you on from the sidelines, And so I think in that perspective, it gives people something to talk about that isn't you just selling people stuff. And I think that's what I've told them is I know it's hard. People like to go out there and talk about what they're offering. I just want to talk about what we do. what we have to offer. It's
Yeah.
the storytelling, and we have great ones. And you forget the great stories that you have to tell sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're in your head and they're locked in, they're baked in there, and nobody's ever heard them. Like it's.
And you think everyone else knows that. You think everyone else knows it, but you're like, oh wait, they didn't know anything about that.
Well, man, I'd love to do a second one of these with you because I've got so many other things I want to talk to you about. But I want to respect your time. I got another thing I got to jump onto here. But dude, thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the conversation. Congrats on the 20 years of this family business. And let's stay in touch. I may have to figure out how to get up there and go to a Cubs game this spring, man.
Have to look at the dates to see Cubs Dodgers.
That's right. Well, I mean, if I'm going to sit in your seats, I don't want to be like Elaine and Seinfeld showing up with the Orioles hat and getting tossed out. But,
This
you go. All right. And well, Rick, thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. And pass that along to Rebecca too. She's awesome, and she's doing a great job, as are y'all with your PR and your storytelling. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'd love to be back. We could talk more.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, see ya.